In this video, I will be speaking about female genital mutilation. Any surgery that's performed on the vagina, any cut, people see that as female genital mutilation. People typically conflate female circumcision and things like labiaplasty and vaginal perineoplasty with female genital mutilation. I will touch on this within the video. I am aware that this is a sensitive topic. All that I ask is that you watch this video from start to finish. I will be citing evidences and there will be links in the description for you to check out. Let's talk about female circumcision in Islam. You may hear someone say that it does not matter if you call it female circumcision, it's still mutilation and this is harmful for women. The question we should ask ourselves though is, what does Islam say about female circumcision? In Islam there is no obligation for a woman to be circumcised. On screen you can see how Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on him, cites three opinions, and that the correct opinion is that it's an obligation for the man to be circumcised but not for the woman. Do you not think that if it was an obligation, the Prophet would have had his daughters circumcised? The wives of the Prophet would have been circumcised? People may cite a hadith which speak about circumcision. The first one they may cite is in Musnad Ahmed, and the hadith is weak. The reason why this is the case is on screen now. What about the hadith in Abi Dawud where the Prophet says do not cut severely? This hadith too is also da'if according to Abi Dawud himself and then Al-Jawzi, and later it was corrected by Al-Albani to reach the level of Hasan, which is why it caused disagreement among scholars. What if this hadith was authentic? We'll take it as authentic. Does it impact us in any way? No, it does not. As it does not take away from the fact that circumcision in Islam for women is not obligatory. Moreover, in Islam there exists something called the harm principle, which I'll speak about later. Before that though, let's say the female will get circumcised. What part will be cut off? Well, Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah be pleased with him, said it's the part of the skin, the top of the skin, which looks like a rooster's mane. It's on screen now, and shout out to Muslimah Explains for this. Something else important to add here is that in Islam there exists something called the harm principle. So if this procedure of circumcision could cause harm to the female, then it cannot be performed. So you may hear people say that it doesn't matter what's done to the vagina, it causes harm. Things like bleeding, infection, etc. People may even cite the definition/statement from the World Health Organization. I showed you this at the beginning of the video. My response to this is as follows. 1. There are women out there who have piercings on their private parts. Now, piercing involves putting a hole in something. For example, women who get their ears pierced, you're putting a hole in your ear. So, if you're putting piercings in your private parts, you are cutting your private parts. As per the definition of the World Health Organization, that's FGM. So therefore, the women out there who want to get piercings down below, they can't get that anymore. Also, if it was such a bad practice, why do surgeries in America, private surgeries, gynecologists, carry out surgeries on the vagina, such as clitoral hood reduction? If it was such a bad, harmful practice, surely the West, the pinnacle of modernity and freedom, will be the first to condemn it. What about people who get gender reassignment surgery? The same people who criticize FGM and condemn FGM, surely they would condemn gender reassignment surgery. Also, as well, with other surgeries, there are harms involved with it. What about people who get work done with lasers? There's harm involved with that. Bleeding, infection. What if the laser goes into your eye? Somehow. I had a surgery 10 years ago to remove something from my body. It wasn't life-threatening, but could that have gone wrong? Yeah. What people do not understand is there are benefits to having surgery on your vagina. And I'm going to share a study with you now and ponder on this thought. If the harms are so big, why did the women in this study report positive feedback? Here is something you likely have not seen. It's a study, and the objective was to evaluate whether the procedures of labiaplasty and vaginal perineoplasty improve genital self-image and evaluate effects on sexual satisfaction. It was done on 120 subjects, evaluated at baseline, the beginning, 6, 12, and then 20 months later. Look at the results. They are positive. FGPS, or as organisations like WHO like to call it, female genital mutilation, FGM, when tested at several points in time after the surgery, up to 2 years, these findings of negative genital self-image and dissatisfaction sexually were no longer present. When performed by what? An experienced surgeon. So in summary, this study proves that there are benefits to having surgery performed on your vagina. The following are extracts from a paper which is linked in the description if you want to read the full thing. It is titled Current Critiques of the WHO, the World Health Organization, Policy on Female Genital Mutilation by Brian D. Earp, Uni of Oxford, and Sarah Johnsdotter of Malmo University. Pause. Something I forgot to mention whilst editing is that this paper, you can probably guess, is done by non-Muslims, but more importantly, it is secular. Now that you know that, back to the video. They first start off by stating that WHO's method and definition is illogical and should be critiqued, and current anti-FGM policies may be ethically incoherent, empirically unsupportable, and legally unsustainable. The paper points out how the World Health Organization have taken an unfair approach when looking at non-Western countries. The beliefs of African and Asian countries regarding FGC are misleading, oversimplified, or false empirical assumptions. In the paper, the authors point out how language is key when speaking about this subject. They provide a testimony from an individual who had surgery in their private parts, positive surgery, beneficial surgery. However, they did not like the term FGM, female genital mutilation. They didn't like the impact and connotations it had. The notion that many people may bring up, which is that women who support, manage, oversee and even perform FGC in their communities must be victims of brainwashing or false consciousness, is something which they challenge, stating that the women believe it's more hygienic, it's more civilized, more respectable and more aesthetically appealing, and that's the women who are saying that. When it comes to who, is that there is a widespread failure to distinguish the moral concept of wrongfulness from that of harmfulness. As you can see, they believe that all non-Western FGC is categorically wrongful and a severe violation of human rights. And in this same paper, they also state how they don't look at the non-Western statistics fairly. The authors of the paper also point out how the World Health Organization make a false claim in regards to the assertion by WHO that at least some forms of FGM involve the total removal of the clitoris. Have a look at this. This is from an Indonesian doctor, and look at what she says. She is a doctor specializing in female circumcision. It looks to me, based on what she's explained, is that women have trouble orgasming, and circumcision takes care of that. And then she says, isn't that a form of equality? Within the paper, they provide a table, and here is an extract from that table. It says that with circumcision, there is a reduced risk of female to male transmission of HIV. I think everybody can agree that this is obviously a benefit. At the end of the table, they provide a brief summary, which states, the moral basis for a zero-tolerance approach to all and only non-Western forms of female-only genital cutting, no matter how minimal, remains unsubstantiated. In their conclusion, they critique the World Health Organization and suggest they have an obligation to take seriously the concerns of scholarly critics. The last sentence states, for the WHO to retain its credibility on this issue, its policy must be revised to eliminate these double standards. In conclusion, when speaking about a topic like this, language is key, and it's clear to see how organisations like the World Health Organization conflate things like circumcision and surgeries like vaginal perineoplasty and labiaplasty with female genital mutilation, and this is not the case. The paper that I showed within this video critiqued the World Health Organization, and again, that paper is from secular authors, people who aren't affiliated to religion. It's clear to see that there are benefits performing vaginal surgeries, and you cannot say that these vaginal surgeries are female genital mutilation. Tying this back up to Islam. In Islam, there is no obligation for the woman to be circumcised. She is not sinful if she's not circumcised. But if a woman decides to get circumcised, it's clear that only a small part is cut off. Minimal cutting. That being said, in Islam, there exists something called the harm principle. If the woman is at risk of harm, the surgery cannot be performed. And that is the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. Please refer to the links in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.